Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana, the hostess with the mostest. Let's get into this. Okay, now, first of all, I know I sound crazy. I know. Crazy how it happened, but we are here and doing well, okay? So, we're going to get into the periodic table, but we're going to back up a little bit, okay? But first, the creator wanted me to say this to somebody. He said, you need a routine. Just like when you were a child. Think about when you were a child, right? In the simplicity of your childhood, you had a schedule that wasn't even made by you. Your life was basically moving on a way that you just basically followed the direction of what you knew you had to do, right? The only thing different with most of you is some kids and some back problems. That's what he told me to say. If you can fix it, you can fix it. And remember, we talked about the connection to things that we don't have control over. He had brought that segment back to mind. And then he told me to just talk about how, a lot of things occurred in the spiritual world, but he purposely had me not talk about it until after, so we would be able to see how real it is, right? And this is like the fall solace, right? So the equinox, he didn't have me talk about the equinox. He didn't have me talk about this Indian summer thing. He didn't have me talk about Columbus Day, and he doesn't want me to talk about this 10/10 portal that we're in today, currently. Alright, we'll talk about all those things after, so we can really hone in on the facts and not about what other people or messengers are saying, right? We'll get to that later. When we left off, the last element we discussed was the tungsten element, which is known to be the strongest element on the board, on the periodic table. Is marked as number 11, and it has an atomic number of 74. Now, because there's so many different things going on, he just kind of wanted to focus on what transition metals were, because instead of just going all over the place, we decided to have a little bit more order. And because we had talked about, I think we did copper, tungsten. We did a few, right? Just a few, not like half, but just a few, right, of the transition metals. And he had informed me that I should just stay there, right? So it would be more orderly, right, and less chaotic. And I'm so sorry for my voice. I know a lot of people are like under the weather right now, right? It's crazy, I know. So he basically told me to look up the transition metals so we can have a better understanding of what they really are. Now, these are basically in groups 3 to 12. And there are a few distinctions between these elements, and that's not even what he wanted me to focus on. He just really wanted me to focus on what transition metals were. And then I promise you, one of the first things I saw was D block. Yo, God is hilarious, bro. Like, D block, bro. Like, for real. These elements lie between the S and P blocks, which makes them D block. Okay, I'm not being funny. I'm being for real. Okay. On the periodic table, right, we have these active metals, non-metals, and semi-metals, right, or semi-metals. And then metals. These transition metals are pretty much bridges or transitions between elements. Okay? So that was like the first thing that made me say, oh, okay. A transition is a transition from one state or another or to another. These are basically substances that speeds up, lowers the reaction, lowers the temperature or pressure needed to start a reaction without it being changed itself. Okay? They facilitate or dictate rather what the end result of this chemical reaction is going to be. For example, iron. Iron is used as a catalyst during the process of making ammonia, right? So nitrogen and hydrogen, the bond between those two, iron is used to make it more reactive, okay, by breaking it or accelerating the process, right, of breaking the bonds between the two. It lowers the activation energy, right? So the thing that makes these elements activated, the catalyst is what breaks those things down, okay? And it allows it to be something else because there's this oxidation process. And we've talked about oxidation last year in regards to blood and how we had gold in our blood and how the oxidation had allowed, the blood to be broken down and turned into iron. We talked about that like a year or so ago, right? And we're going to get into an actual element like on another segment. But the overall thing is this understanding of the transition metals, right? So moving forward, we're going to be like doing the periodic table for a while, okay? So as we're on this periodic table and we're in these transition metals, it's important to understand that they are metallic elements, okay? They're a group of elements on the periodic table they're in between active metals, non-metals, metals, and semi-metals. And as mentioned, I'm sorry, I had to step away for a second. As mentioned, iron is one of the most popular, catalysts. And I think it's important to mention that these transition metals are used in like everyday life. So it's not like, they're so rare and they're so special, but they are special. So some of the distinctions between the transition metals and others is that they have higher melting points. They're good conductors of heat. And they have more than one state that they can go into, right? So this is some of the things that we need to pay attention to. And of course, you have the compounds in the valence shell and the electrons on the valence shells, 2 as opposed to 1, right? Those things are all, okay, and here we go. Moving it into how it connects to the spiritual aspect of things. Like, as you know, that's what we do here. We find the connection between the spirit world, right? Why this is so important is because as we start going through these different phases, when shit hits the fan, it's going to be important to know what a penny could be used for, what a nickel could be used for. Okay? These things are elements that are useful for more than just, being a form of currency. So this is why this is important. The earth has things. One second. And I'm so sorry, got a little distracted again. But basically we're going to choose another element to discuss. So we're going to be getting back into the transition metals, but the creator just wanted to basically hone in on what these things are, because like I was saying, when shit hits the fan, we need to know how to use these different elements. And I don't know a whole bunch about it, but if we are learning that these things are heat conductors, we'll be able to generate heat, generate electricity, have different things that will allow us to have a better standard of living. This podcast is intended to give information that assists us beyond the unseen, okay? The things that we really are not privy to, the things we need a better understanding about, the things that we really don't fully understand, but we know is something up, right? We have these discussions because it allows us to confirm, right, what we've been suspecting, what we've been hearing, what we've been feeling, the things we believe to be true, but we have no proof. And we may not even still have proof, right? But again, when we have the ability to look up some of these things that we're discussing, or when we can just look around and see the things that are unfolding or have unfolded, it's really easy to understand that something has occurred, something is up, right? And we don't have to have it all figured out, right? But realizing that you have the ability to use natural resources to survive, especially in the event that the world really is coming to an end. This is important, right? These are natural resources. We're not going out paying for this stuff. We may, depending on where we are geographically, be able to just go in our backyards or our front yards and dig some of this stuff up. From oil to different metals to different gases, right? We don't have to always go to another country or go to a laboratory to see these things. Not always. So again, we have to be willing to understand that some of this stuff is going to help us in the near future. And this brings me to the topic of, just to close out, Saturday, please, make sure y'all are opening yourselves up, okay, to this, because it's important. It's very, very important. It's free. It's information. It's going to be a nice, good vibe. You're going to have just some small snacks, some fruit and stuff. And that is it, okay? We don't have to turn this into a crazy thing. Just come get the seeds, come get the information. Listen to some good music, link up with some people, and just enjoy, this new wave that we're about to go into. It's going to be a very spiritual thing. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I do love y'all. I didn't wish the water and the fruit and the vegetables and the good sleep on y'all yesterday, so I'm going to wish it on y'all 2 times right now. And yeah, that's it. Love y'all. Peace.